Up Talk. Now, another offering from the Stand Up Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to another Nerd Rager episode. On this episode, we're going to do the Comedy Store Nerd Rager, and with me I have Jeff Scott and Rick Ingraham. How you guys doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm boners all the way.
Boners all the way.
Boners.
Off to a good start today. Early boners. Yep. It's a little early for the comics, but I like them out.
Wood.
Fill you guys in. Jeff Scott is the house pianist at the Comedy Store, and also, I would believe, the biggest Comedy Store nerd on the planet.
Total. Complete. Guilty.
Okay, well.
What about Johnny Zapp?
Well, his lies are too much to where you can't.
He doesn't even have a purpose there, and yet he wears his Comedy Store vintage jacket every night.
Well, Johnny's a legend. He birthed Mitzi.
He not only birthed Mitzi, but he made love to her several times.
Sure.
Along with Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
My thing with Johnny Zapp is I always I get so mad at Toby for the picture up at the bar with Richard Pryor.
Every time.
Well,
So
mine
funny.
is right there too.
So funny because I think they ripped
And Toby
out
will
his-
hide. Yeah, Toby will fold it so that Johnny Zapp is out of the picture. As soon as he sees Johnny get there, he folds the paper so he's not in the picture. And then,
What are you doing?
That's my picture with Richard.
So, Eric, who's your other guest here?
Rick Ingraham is with me, and I would say one of the finest comics in LA, in the world.
When it comes to burning bridges and attitude problems, I'm tops.
I'm telling you right now, this guy's going to be on top. The Rick Ingraham experience will be coming to you soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
So yeah,
We're hoping for Cheyenne, That's the ultimate goal. If we can get to Cheyenne.
That's where you open,
Cheyenne, Wyoming. There you go.
or that's where you close.
That's probably where the entire tour would take place. We just go to Cheyenne. We just need somewhere where people are really real.
And they don't give a shit about a camera
Absolutely not.
because too many people here do.
Yeah.
What's that moving
Like-
picture thing you
And you
got
have
there?
everyone's doing improv now, to where it's like they all want to be this fake act.
Improv might actually be the worst thing that ever happened. Ever.
Right.
There's a decent chance that whoever came up with that was like, guys, we're not funny at all. What if we just made stuff up on the spot so that way there was an excuse for why we're not funny? And then the other guys were like, yeah, he's the funniest one.
And then we'll add the word banana.
Yeah.
Because banana's funny.
And then the other guy chimed in. He's like, I can do bicycle riding. And they were like, perfect. That's exactly
I'm
what we
in.
need.
Improv does make magicians look better, though.
That's true.
So-
It does have its benefits, I guess.
Absolutely.
I think, in general, what's needed, the next step, people need to forget about improv comedy, and we move into improvised dramatic acting troupes. Give us a disease, lung cancer. Boom. Now you do a 5-minute skit just about how terrible having lung cancer is.
This goes along the lines of
Basically, just improv.
Yeah. Well, see, again, our excuse for why it's not funny is because it's about lung cancer.
and they spend no time actually writing jokes,
Yeah, at all.
which drives you crazy because
That could be the funniest part of it.
Yeah, I think an improv drama troupe would be way funnier than an improv comedy troupe.
you would just show up. I'm here.
I'd just go. If I saw that offered, I would go. That's a show I'd go see. Like, what is wrong with these people?
Tonight we're presenting Anna Karenina. Where's it gonna be? Where's it gonna be? Anyone? We need a location.
Oh,
Anna Karenina.
we still do all locations and all right. What's a fun activity? Okay, I'm skiing. Oh,
What type of rape?
Sonny Bono. Oh, I didn't even consider the possibilities of great improv rape humor.
Yeah.
Not gonna fly on Facebook.
Never, no.
No.
You get your bands from that, but so that time make me think of a commercial my friend wanted to do for the Super Bowl, like all the positive commercials and they're funny and whatever. Why not have the depressing commercial in the Super Bowl halftime? Puppies dying.
Yeah.
It's hard to sell a product with puppies dying. I think is probably the answer.
The
Unless it's
SPCA does a
a,
pretty good job of it with the Sarah McLachlan songs and
Unless it's
Oh,
for
right.
a puppy cemetery.
See, I changed the. Wow, puppy cemetery. Not only do I think
Little
there needs
kids
to be
crying.
advertising for a puppy cemetery, we need to start a puppy cemetery. How old was your dog? 8 months. No, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Not young enough for this cemetery.
That would take up 3 shoeboxes.
So we're gonna get into the first part of this podcast. We always talk about video games because I'm a huge video game nerd. I thought about a question for you guys. Yeah, right? No way. The question I'd have for you: if there was a video game made about the Comedy Store, I'll start off with you, Jeff. What do you think it would be?
What do I think? A video game about the Comedy Store.
Like the genre?
There is a Comedy Store video game.
Actually, you're right. There actually
It's,
is. Well,
it's on floppy disk.
Yeah.
It
Floppy
came out
disk
in like '88. We
sitting
tried
in a
to
dusty box.
Yeah, someone found Alf, the old who knows what he did, but he used to work
PR.
there. Yeah, PR.
PR.
He was our social networking coordinator or something. But he found a couple boxes of this old video game. So I knew my family had an old Commodore 64.
Thank God.
So I took it. I took the game back to Kansas, and it was not the right format, unfortunately.
Oh, so you didn't
never
know what
got
it
to play
was?
it.
Never got to play it.
It was like
It was probably just like A, B, C. What's funny?
I'm guessing it was like those old Jeopardy games or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Wheel of Fortune. Like you have limited choices. And
Who wrote this joke or who says this joke? Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like there was very much in terms like you're
it
not
would've
really
been,
doing anything.
It
But
would have been fun if it was like Whack-A-Mitzi.
oh,
And like different comics heads popped up and
but that's Louie and Mitzi and Roseanne. Oh.
And that is presented to you by any comic from the club in 1972 to 78.
All of them, one at a time.
So let's
Hey, I wrote that. What's he talking about? It's my shit.
while we're talking about this, you guys explain a little bit about to the people who don't know who Mitzi is, Tommy. Maybe give a little insight to these people. Wow.
Oh,
Mitzi is the owner of the club.
correct.
She is Pauly Shore's mother.
Sammy Shore's wife and
The reason why Pauly Shore has a career.
yeah, Sammy and his partner Rudy rented out a room at the what's now the Comedy Store building. Back then it was Art LeBeau's Ciro's, and they started it just to do a comedy nightclub. And suddenly Sammy got a gig of a life opening up for Elvis in Vegas. So they thought they'd abandon it, and Mitzi was like, "I'll run it." And she'd already come up with the name, the Comedy Store. And by the time Sammy came back, it was already wildly successful. And then they divorced, and she was the first person in the state to win the business as well as get the house.
Well, and Sammy talked about it at the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
About how his lawyer and him, they came up with the plan. Like, he had to pay Mitzi something like $1,500 a month or something in the late '70s or mid '70s,
Yeah.
which that's a decent amount of change back then for like a divorce alimony payment or whatever. But then it convinced her to lower it by like $400 a month or something. He said,
Yeah.
if they gave her the club, and they thought that would be smarter for them. Like, that club's not going to make it.
Right.
Right,
definitely,
right.
yeah.
It would, I mean, it's a
We
rented
we'll
room.
save $500 a month.
Right. And at that point, Carson and The Tonight Show were still in New York. So, that was where you had to be a comedian. So good luck, lady. But
Yeah, and Mitzi and Sammy they were friends too, right?
No.
they were married.
They were married. They were a couple.
Okay. See, I don't know a lot about
Oh, that's
that
her
story.
husband. That was her divorce.
Sammy was the husband, and he's the original Weasel. He's literally
right.
looks just like old
Senior
Paulie,
Weasel.
and same thing. Loves women. From what I understood, was not faithful, which led to
Maybe.
said divorce,
With
possibly.
a blonde.
Yeah,
Said blonde.
said blonde that then caused Mitzi to hate blonde comedians for decades.
And waitresses. Blonde
Oh, that's
waitresses.
right. Blonde waitresses were a
Yeah.
no go.
But she was about 44 and had the club for about 2 years.
Young kids.
Richard Pryor had done both his first 2 albums, recorded them there, and she had a split of it, and it made her enough money, along with mortgaging the house, to buy the whole damn building.
Yeah,
And then
comedy boom.
a year or 2 after that, Carson moves the Tonight Show to L.A., and she was,
This is your club.
there was no other place to
Yeah.
go. It was it.
Will there ever be a woman as powerful as her in comedy ever again?
There
Not
definitely
at a-
could be, but
Yeah,
it would
not
be
in a
tough because it's
groundbreaking
a
way.
oversaturated market.
Yeah,
now.
it's
Right.
So back then, she was in competition with 4 other decision makers in the comedy world, and
Yeah.
she was the only woman. So
Right.
there probably won't be, just in terms of the influence, just because there's so many women out there now that are running clubs terribly.
Well,
And men as well, but-
she's implemented just about everything you can, every type of program. She had the first women's show, the first gay
Right.
show, the first Armenian,
We could
Arabian
have done without the
Nights,
Armenian
first
one.
Black
Wow.
Night.
For every great decision she made, she's made some pretty terrible decisions. Every time someone comes to you with like this folklore about Mitzi and her unbelievable eye for talent and how she just picked the best of the best, a lot of the times I think she picked the same best comics that everybody picks.
Okay.
There's also a lot of names on the building of people Mitzi picked who are horrible.
MC Hen.
That nobody else on earth ever would be like, yeah, you're a regular. But if you go and you check it out, it's like the Ace Trucking Company nailed it.
Yep.
She had that amazing eye for the Ace Trucking Company. Or
There's some really
Piper and
crazy
Tupper?
names.
Yeah,
on
our
that wall.
favorites.
our favorites.
Piper and Tupper.
Piper and Tupper were creepy and weird when they originally came out, and they were creepy and weirder when they came back 2 years ago.
I missed them. I would have loved to have seen them.
So weird. It's so uncomfortable because it's now like I think I wasn't there when it was originally going on with those guys, but it's kind of like a retro '60s feel.
Oh, okay.
Like that's what they kind of go with.
Like a fake lounge act.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it almost seemed like it's been so long since that kind of, like, I could see that being funny in like the 80s.
Yeah,
or
it's-
90s.
Tony, like a Tony
dated.
Clifton
Yeah,
thing.
it's like mocking an era that was just happened.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's
But
dated.
now it's so far, it's like,
been done.
like the crowd literally looked at those two guys like, listen, we've never taken acid in strawberry fields. We don't know what the fuck is going on.
Right. So basically, Eric,
I enjoyed
that
the
would
devastation.
be what that would be what a video game at the Comedy Store would be like.
Yeah, I like the conversation you went into. That was even better.
Just for
They-
the people listening and paying
For all
attention.
those video gamers out there.
yeah.
It would be the point of the game, if it were a modern game about the early days of the Comedy Store. I think you would, it would all be Grand Theft Auto style.
Yeah.
You start
yeah.
as
Yeah.
Argus Hamilton with an 8-ball.
Yeah, you score
You drive
bags
through
and
Hollywood. You
points
try and score with the owner to get stage time.
Sure.
The more stage time you get, the higher your social celebrity status rises. Boom, straight to the top.
You earn credits as you go.
As you go, oh yeah. You just got passed at the Improv. Level
Yeah.
2.
You have to get thrown in. You're banned. You have to get thrown into a late night rumble with like Biff Maynard.
Right.
or-
You get to
Sam Kinison has pulled a gun on you.
Andy Dick sexually
Kelly
molest you for
Monteith.
2 hours.
The first time I ever saw Andy Dick was at the Comedy Store, and I was a doorman, and I was very young. I was like 21, and Andy Dick walked in, and immediately gave me some creepy vibe. And he was with a younger dude who looked kind of like that blonde guy with the long hair on TMZ. That's what he looked like. Just like this young blonde surfer dude, and everyone was just immediately like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
I wonder if it was Lucas, his
Well, that's
son.
he kept telling everyone, "This is my son."
So
this
it was
is
the
my
one
son.
time he was being truthful.
I don't think so, because they then disappeared into a one-seater bathroom for
Yeah,
about 25
yeah.
minutes.
Ah, check please.
And we were all like, oh. And then everyone started, telling oh, yeah, Andy molests people. That's his thing.
When I started back there, anytime I'd wear my glasses, like out-of-towners would come up and be, "Are you Andy
Yeah.
Dick?" And I'm like, "Yes, I sure am."
I don't wear my glasses on stage for that same reason. There's always
You got
one,
that too?
one
So-
person in the audience, usually a minority,
Glasses.
and they tell me with the
and
glasses.
White.
Yeah.
That's all you have to wear.
My
gangly and
two
white.
2 months at the Comedy Store, I was sitting there in the back smoking some weed, and Andy Dick and Edward Furlong came up in the back.
Oh, I remember that night.
He just started right away trying to grab my dick. Immediately.
Andy Dick did, or Edward
Andy
Furlong?
Dick.
Okay.
And like Edward Furlong's just standing there like,
Yeah,
it
that's what
happens.
happened.
He rapes people, it's all good.
It should be what's his name?
Edward Furlong?
Edward Furlong. It should be Edward Dicklong.
Hello.
Heyo.
Hello. Yeah. I wasn't there for that. I would have enjoyed getting high with Furlong just because that guy's in serious mental lapsing at this point.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely
Isn't he in
going down.
rehab right now or something?
He just
Yeah,
got busted
jail.
with something. I don't know.
Eric, you would have enjoyed when we used to have visits from. Oh crap! I just lost the lady that used to date Nicholson to come and hang out with us.
Oh, Laura Flynn Boyle.
Laura Flynn Boyle.
Yeah, those were great.
My buddy.
She would show
She'd
up.
come and slap me in the face and say, "Get me high, faggot."
All 75 pounds of her.
Yeah,
That's so
it was
awesome.
Charming.
One of the greatest honors I ever had as someone who enjoys partaking in the herbal remedies was
Marijuana.
Yes, that's right. Laura Flynn Boyle. We smoked out of a Red Bull can one time. That was the only smoking device available.
Very desperate.
Yeah. But it's like Laura Flynn Boyle wants to get high and no one has a pipe. We're all fucking losers. No one has a paper. We're all fucking losers. So we get the Red Bull can, we're going, and I load it up, and I hand it to her, and she starts smoking, and she's like, "This is better than the stuff Jack used to have." And I was just like, yes!
Nailed it.
Yes! I've got better stuff than Jack Nicholson. This is the greatest
And the
achievement
fact
in
that
Hollywood.
you have her smoking out of a can is even
Oh, yeah.
classier than
How do
anything.
I do it? I'm like, just hit it.
It's
You
not
know what's
crack.
going
Don't
on.
worry.
Yeah. She was all about it.
We're not freebasing right now.
Yeah, she was fun. She used to come back, get all wild. She even came once after she got married. And,
Yeah, with her husband.
and,
Brought him in the back. And
didn't
it was
she
awkward.
didn't party as much because we're
No.
all like, hey, we all thought we could, get you crazy enough that you would get naked or something eventually. She was great on Twin Peaks. Really creepy, but like in a good
Creepy way.
Yeah. Yeah, she was fun. A lot of the random people that you get. We once
Snoop
went.
Dogg?
Yeah, Snoop. We got to smoke with Snoop.
Snoop was awesome.
He was with the Bishop Don Magic Wand.
Yes, he
and,
was. Yes, he was.
Do you have to call him that every time you say? Like,
Yeah,
I just
pretty much.
call him the Bishop.
Oh, okay.
So nice
Yeah.
to meet you, Bishop.
It's on a ring on his finger, so pretty.
He never stopped moving. He was constant. Like there was no song playing, but in his head there was. He'd stand there, and yeah, I lost a full eighth to a blunt in that situation. Got called out by Snoop Dogg. What's that? Some white boy weed? No, man, I got it from Hawthorne. He's like, ooh, wait, let me smell it. And then he smelled that. And he's like, oh yeah, we can smoke this. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. All of it, just all of it. I'm like, well,
Speaking
that's
of
more than I wanted.
Speaking of smoking stories, you want to tell them about your birthday party with Robin Williams?
Oh yeah.
It'd be fascinating. I love
Classic
Robin Williams
story.
stories. Those
I
are
don't
my
think-
favorite at the comedy
I don't think
store.
you've heard this one.
No,
I
probably
don't know.
not. He has like thousands of them. Robin Williams has the best stories at the comedy store.
Yeah, he was pretty legendary at the time when he arrived at the Comedy Store. He made a name for himself in San Francisco. Came down,
Street.
the cocaine boom
Yeah.
era, and was definitely partaking. So
Good to be high.
you just hear lots of stories. One of the things you learn when you come to the Comedy Store is that there's just an insane history of amazing stories.
Yeah.
And more importantly, there's endless amounts of amazing storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the stories have been turned even better over the years, which makes you like question a lot of them. But like,
Rewrites.
yeah, exactly. Like I would hear all these stories from Argus or whenever an older comic would come back and they'd tell me, oh, it was so much fun back in the day. Lines of cocaine a yard long. You'd meet in the middle, like in. You'd get a girl and you guys would meet in the middle, just like in Lady and the Tramp. And they'd be like, yeah, killer. way to do excessive cocaine. But one of the stories, there's amongst the headshots for some reason of all the comedians, there's a picture of Robin Williams and some guy standing in a trench coat.
Yeah.
So I would ask people like, hey, who's this? And I didn't know, maybe like Robin did a comedy duo or something was what I thought. They said, oh, that was the Comedy Store's drug dealer. His name was the Todd, and he sold coke to all the comedians.
He's Fast Eddie back then.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's Fat Eddie.
Oh, Fat Eddie, my bad.
That Eduardo.
So that was just like the story, and then people have all these stories. Oh yeah, the Todd. At one point he was the most powerful man in the Comedy Store. They all have stories.
Fucking mind.
So, in the Todd, just not to go on a PJ Stansberry tangent, but the Todd ended up freaking out and like literally having a mental breakdown,
Yeah.
losing his mind.
Literally.
His mom showed up one night at the Comedy Store. The drug dealer from the 80s, mom, showed up at the Comedy Store, 2004, and was like, Todd is missing. Sometimes when he goes missing, he shows up at the Comedy Store. So if you guys see him, please call us and let us know. We're just like, okay. And at that point, I'd heard the stories. I'm just like, that'd be funny if the Todd showed up. So at the end of the night, it's like 2 in the morning. I'm turning all the power off. I go backstage in the main room. And I turn the lights on to turn off the fuse switches, and the dude is just standing in the dark in the corner. And I just was like, holy shit. So I just turned around and I went and got the manager. I'm like, I think that dude is just creeping in the corner. Dean walks in, turns the light on. He's like, hey, are you Todd? He just cringes, like cowers down in the corner.
Smeagol.
Oh, so creepy. So we called his mom and she came and picked him
So
up.
is that guy now Robert William Aprovaya?
No, he's not even at that level. Like,
No,
he
he
couldn't
was
communicate.
Oh, wow.
Like, he was full on
Other
in a
planetary,
fucking
yeah.
world of his own.
He was on. He was booked. I hadn't even been there a year, and it was the one time that I saw him on stage, and he
See, I didn't even know the Todd did comedy.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he came up to me, and he said, "Okay, you know my music, right?" And walked away. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
You know.
You don't have
And-
every human's music memorized?
And the entire 15-minute set was, he said, all right, I'm going to do something very special for you guys. You, sir, would you come up here? You, sir, would you come up here? And he got like 15 people up from the audience. And you're not going to believe what he did.
What?
He went in the audience where they were sitting and looked at him like they were the comics.
You know, that's
That was
why
the entire. It took 15 minutes. It was zero
you
payoff.
didn't know the music for that?
No, I didn't know the music for it.
And by the way, for a message to all young comics, no matter what, you don't go up to the house musician and ask to put your music on because it doesn't matter. It just be funny.
Yeah, it's true.
Your music doesn't matter.
Don't rely on props.
I think that's the best advice anyone could ever give, unless you're Carrot Top, and then definitely rely on props.
rely
Get a
on-
lot of
'cause your jokes
music
are
too.
not good.
A lot of music.
Sure.
All right, so going back now, so I had found out that from that photo that this guy is the Todd, and that he got to hang out because he had tons of cocaine. So one night Robin showed up. It was my 25th birthday, and back then I was a pretty heavy alcoholic, so the general plan every night was to drink 5 beers. On my birthday, it was to drink 10 beers. And so we started as soon as I got there, like 9 or whatever, and about 11 o'clock. About 11, Robin Williams showed up. And everyone was like, oh my God, Robin's here, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, what are you guys doing?
So I was
Wow.
in the thick of doing Argus Hamilton impressions at the time. And
Drunk Argus.
yeah. What started as a standard Argus impression became a drunk Argus impression when Johnny Carson died. And I think possibly the first time ever a character started drinking again because of a real death. So I was yelling at people as a drunk, intoxicated Argus Hamilton circa 1983, and Robin Williams showed up, and I just saw him standing in the hallway. I was standing with Dean, the manager, so I turned to him and I said in Argus voice, "Hey, Robin, the Todd's looking for you. He says you owe him $1,500 for that cocaine." And Robin Williams literally sprinted out of the building, just like ran out. And Dean just looked at me like, "Bro, what are you doing?"
Not cool, bro.
And then he came running back in, like 10 seconds later, just dying of laughter. He was like, "How the hell do you know who I bought cocaine from 20 years ago?"
It was wild, crazy.
So you got to hang out with him the rest of the night.
Yeah, so then I just said, you know, just heard stories, and people have told us about the Todd, and there's a picture of you hanging. Oh, really? There's a picture. So we took him up, showed him. Oh, man, that's crazy. Why do they have a picture of me with a cocaine dealer?
Oh, crazy.
So then someone said Skippy Simon, comedian, who
Really
used to
good
hang
comedian.
back in the day at the Comedy Store.
I'm crushing it.
He used to crush it at the Comedy Store. He came up and was like, "Rickolas, let's get you drinks." That's what he'd call me. "We need to get you some shots." And Robin was
Birthday
like,
shots.
"It's your birthday?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Let's do shots." So me and Robin and Skippy go to the back bar, and we
Robin,
start.
who's been dry, mind you, for years. at
I
this
didn't
point.
know that. No one had told me that. He was so into doing shots. I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's
So
do
you're
shots.
helping him on or off the wagon, whichever one that
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
So we we do like 3 shots of tequila over like 10 minutes, standing in the back bar, and I'm just talking to Robin as Argus, and he's just playing along. It's a full-on improv session.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm asking him about, telling him, this new movie of yours, Cadillac Man, ain't gonna make it. And he said, oh, really? You don't think so? Mork and Mindy, this thing's never gonna make it to episode 2. No one wants to hear about a stupid alien. He says, oh, I think it's a great idea, August. You're gonna love it. Oh, it's never gonna work. Night Court. Now there's a TV show. He says, I'm not on that show, Argus. So then someone's like, let's smoke.
Yeah.
It's your birthday. Let's go get high. And I'm just like,
smoke,
sweet.
smoke.
So we went and smoked a couple
ground.
joints, yeah. And he's telling us more stories, and he's getting all animated and excited, and telling stories about partying back in the day. Oh, I remember seeing this person do drugs. And
Was this in the Kennison spot? Like
This-
the back area, or was it in the
Sacred ground.
main room, green
Sacred
room?
ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
sacred ground.
For those of you listening who know, sacred ground.
If you don't know, it's definitely not an alley behind the building.
And it's definitely not Jeff Scott's office.
And it's definitely not for non-comics.
That's right. No, I mean, they're
Wait,
welcome to
definitely-
come back
Unless
there.
they have a- unless they
I
have a
will
sweet
shred some of
vagina.
the pieces.
Yeah, yeah. So we were back there smoking.
So we smoke with Robin, then we go back in after he's told a bunch of stories, and we drank a bunch more.
Yep.
And then he proceeds to tell us about how he's in town because he's doing press for RV. And
It was a terrible movie.
yeah, so we're like, oh yeah, should we see it? And he's like, absolutely, under no circumstances should any of you go to that movie.
No, don't say
And I was like, oh really?
it. Piece of doo-doo.
Yeah, and
That's a great answer.
yeah, he was totally like, promise me you won't go see it. I don't want you to think less of me. So yeah, so
too
then
late.
he told me, the last thing he said was, he said, this is the most fucked up I've been in at least 20 years. And I thought, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, he's
on your
drinking more than
21st.
usual.
Yeah,
It's-
right.
I'm 25 years old, and he is drinking, like, he's getting drunk with me, like he's a teenager.
And think
So-
about the last time he got drunk, you were 5 years old.
Yeah. See, and I didn't know that. So then the next day, well, that night ends. I go home. Someone gives me a ride home, a block and a half to my apartment, which ends with me opening the door and just puking all over the front sidewalk. That's how wasted we got.
That's a good night, though.
Yeah. Oh, it was a great night. Like, I had trouble getting up one flight of stairs to find my way into my apartment. I was so fucked up.
You end up in your neighbor's apartment.
Almost.
Sounds like a Jeff Altman routine.
Yeah. Where's the dip? Where's the dip? So then the next day, I show up at the Comedy Store, and Don Barris comes up to me, and he had been hanging out with us as well, smoking at least for the smoking part. And he was like, "Yeah." So I was talking to Jimmy Kimmel, and just telling him about how crazy that night was last night, and he was saying that Robin is sober, and I was like, "What?
Whoops.
Like, that can't be right." And he's like, "Yeah."
You guys talked him into a night of partying, pretty much.
I think RV talked him into
Yeah.
a night of partying.
Yeah.
So then, about a month later, my mom called me, furious, because Robin Williams is checking into rehab because he's fallen off. And,
Rick, what did you do to Robin?
and she's like, "You shouldn't have done that." Like,
That's
giving me
you
this whole
being very
thing.
Like, it's
bad.
all your fault. Sorry I had my birthday.
It literally became my reputation. Like, I would go up at other clubs. I went up at the Improv in a showcase for Principato and Young, and that's how I got brought up. Was this next guy sent Robin Williams to rehab? And I was just like, oh, so now I'm a
Good
drug
credit.
addict.
Good credit.
It's a great
Yeah, I
tag.
guess so.
Have
Guy's
you
a
seen-
former cokehead.
Have you seen Robin Williams since then?
Yeah, I've seen him a couple times.
Yeah.
He said that.
He didn't remember.
No, he just said he's like, oh, I'd had some drinks from time to time. He's like, I hadn't gotten that hammered, but
Yeah.
he said he'd had drinks before. It wasn't like it was the first time he had alcohol
I
in
think
20 years, but
He's controlled it. so-
yeah, and so he went to rehab, and then his wife divorced him, and it was
Dog
just
left, yeah.
yeah, it was a brutal chain of events. But I think he's remarried already, so
Take a
I
second.
freed him.
Let's take a second real quick to acknowledge Ari Manis over here.
Yeah,
Ari!
producer.
Thank
Stand Up Talk Studios. Thank you for having us
Thank
again,
you.
Ari.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about not mentioning you earlier, buddy. We got into
Oh,
this conversation.
Oh, good, brother.
He got
Enjoying
you.
it.
He got you water, and you didn't even mention his name.
Yeah,
Right.
Ari Manis.
That's pretty fucked
at
up.
Ari Manis
Thank
The
you,
new
thank you.
short-haired.
on Grinder.
Trying to get that puss, dude.
Grind.
Amen. Amen. And nice usage of the Comedy Store's terminology too. Got to get
Got
that, puss.
Got to get that puss, bro. The
You know,
Toby
where's the
term.
puss at,
The parlance
bro?
of Jimmy Pitt. Hey, don't need no ride home. Going to get that puss. That's fantastic.
If you hang around Toby enough,
Hey,
you'll be
dear.
like, gotta go get that puss, bro.
Yeah.
Gotta go get that puss.
You know, I'm
and
just
Toby
saying.
was a
I'm
Pitt
just
guy,
saying.
so that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And so that people at home who are listening to this know, Toby Simmons is the bartender at the Comedy Store, and
What's up, Toby?
he has the funniest stories. If you're ever at the Comedy Store front bar, go up to him and whatever night he's working. But
He's
is,
literally the classic example of the stereotype of Asian people never aging.
oh
Yeah.
goddamn, he's
I
like
thought,
50.
I thought, yeah, he's like mid 40s or something, or early 40s. But
Yeah.
He looks like 27.
And yeah,
Looks
until
like
he
27.
told me, I thought he was at like late 20s.
He's
That-
6'4".
honestly. Yeah.
I made him show me his ID because I didn't believe him. I was like, no, there's
Yeah,
no
that's,
way.
Sheezer has a great story about him getting in a fight with, like, almost in a physical altercation with a guy in Vegas because the guy was like, asked him how old he was, and he said he was however old he is. And the guy was like, I'll give you $100 if you're really that old. So he took his ID out, showed it to the guy, and then was like, pay up, bro.
Oh, and Toby's a big gambler, so that guy was like, no, that's a bet.
The guy was like, no, I'm not really giving it to you. He was like, bro, you're a man. You're a
Yeah.
man, right? You live up to your word.
Don't
Then
make
give
me
me the $100.
don't make me tune you up, bro.
Yeah.
That's a lot of puss, bro.
Dude, you can get a lot of
And you're
puss.
talking about the luckiest fucking gambler
Right?
on the planet.
Total.
Is he?
Oh, dude, he wins nonstop. I bet him one
Hey,
time.
Angel, you know, come no again.
I bet him one time on 2 baseball games. One of the games he won. The other one I'm up 9-2. So I'm like, I'm gonna win this. 9th inning, the guys come back for 8 runs. I'm like, what the fuck? So I ended up having to pay him double.
Wow.
That's brutal.
I was like, God damn. And he does that all the time at Ty Angel. He runs shit. Like just he's so
He's
lucky.
killer.
Well, he's good at cards too, I bet.
So I guess the answer is that's what a Comedy Store video game would be like.
yeah, that's our callback every time.
I think every great sequence
I've done
ends.
interviews before. I've worked in the PR.
I get entertainers on this show, and that's it. Just pure entertainers.
Well, what's happened today?
No comment,
No,
folks. Huh?
no comment there.
Ouch.
Next topic.
Next topic. No,
What, I was,
Well,
I was
I
thinking,
actually-
what other celebrities have we gotten
I
wasted?
actually had a question for you on about the Comedy
Eddie
Store.
Van Halen.
There's a Eddie Van Halen. There you go.
Boom. We got high with him and Bushman. He was just sitting backstage with Bushman. We went back there to go smoke. Open the door. It's just the crazy African comedian that beat Norm Macdonald at Star Search in 1988,
Yep.
who is now a house cleaner.
Jeff, my son is 94'7".
Bushman, he's not that tall.
He's 922 feet tall.
Pitino said he's the greatest basketball player to ever live.
I'm
No, he didn't.
opening for Ed McMahon.
So that's who Bushman was. I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, so Bushman was backstage sitting with, and now and he literally is just like a guy who hangs out.
Yeah.
But he was backstage with Eddie Van Halen, and he had met Eddie Van Halen out front and told him he would smoke him out, and then took him backstage, and he didn't have any pot. He just knew eventually someone would show up. So
It's a good move.
yeah, for like 10
Classy
minutes,
move.
I wish I could have been the fly on the wall watching
Yeah.
the look on Eddie Van Halen's face for 10 minutes as he sat in an empty room with the Bushman, just like, I don't think we're going to get high. Like,
You might rape me.
Yeah, I'm just sitting with a 88-pound African man named the Bushman.
Telling me about how he checks penises.
I'm a dick watcher, man.
I'm a dick watcher.
He got a job working at the drug testing clinic as the guy that checks people's dicks while make sure they're actually peeing in the cup. And then he would just talk about, I'm on a long day, man. Bad day today. Yeah, it's a bad
A
day
lot of
every day.
dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot
of
of dicks,
dicks.
man. Big Puerto Rican dick that hang to the side. I'm like, well, why are you looking at it that closely?
Gotta make sure
I seen little black dicks, big white dicks.
he's a meat gazer.
Hey, you want to get high?
You got something to smoke?
Oh, of course. Thank you for inviting me.
My father had a favorite comic that he went to the Comedy Store in the 70s, and he loved him. And he said he didn't know his real name, but Unknown Comic.
Yeah, Murray Langston.
Murray Langston. Okay.
The unknown
My dad said
comic.
it was one of the best things he's ever seen.
He's great.
So
That was the trash. That was the bag on the head guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
Gong
you guys
Show.
did you guys ever get a chance to see him? Or?
He was gone before my time.
I talked to
okay.
him on Facebook. He's out there, so I think he's still.
Oh, he's
performs.
still kicking it, and
Yeah. But
Okay.
that was just.
He
that
doesn't
was
do the
before our
unknown
time,
comic
but that
anymore.
was. Yeah, I don't know if he does. He might.
that'd be pretty cool
Yeah, I
if
mean,
he
that-
came back and did that.
That was almost on the level of like Andy Kaufman back then, where
Yeah.
people are just like, "What is he doing?
Well,
Yeah.
if you look at those
Why
photos,
would you not want people to know your face?
right.
That's what this is all about."
A little too clever for the room.
well, there was
Yeah.
there was a lot of that weird stuff going on, and it seems like the 70s and 80s where there was like imaging.
Well, there wasn't a.
Yeah, that's
there's
a
a lot of
it,
drugs.
yeah.
There's a lot of cocaine,
Smoking.
and there was also there wasn't a recipe book yet for how
Right.
to do comedy.
Right.
So today, the way most people become comedians is they have comedians that they love, and most of the time they'll
They copy
imitate
them.
them, for
Imitate
a couple
is
of
the word,
years, at least
Or
until
forever.
or forever, yeah. But a minimum a couple of years, and
Yeah.
then you eventually learn your own style. Hopefully,
Right,
I mean
right,
that's the goal.
right.
But I mean, it happened there. Like when I started, I was so influenced by guys like, and I don't even tell jokes anymore. But when I did, all my jokes, like I think a lot of them would have been funny if Sebastian did it, because in my mind,
he's an amazing comic.
yeah, he is. But it's like he's such a great character that like I would write a joke that is just like me complaining about something, but
Right.
it doesn't sound funny. Just a normal sounding guy just being like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, have you seen how ugly people are or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
But in Sebastian's cadence would kill, I think. So a lot of my jokes were just not at all for my style of comedy. Or I'd tell a joke that would be like, oh, you know what? That sounds like a Caparillo bit. Or like those were the guys who were just crushing every night.
Yeah.
When I was learning, like, okay, this is how you do comedy.
What I mean?
It took a year, then I'm like, what am
Yeah,
I
it
doing?
took a good while. I mean, Rick was still doing his regular rehearsed material, but then suddenly started playing around, behind the scenes with the comics, doing Drunk Argus for us.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of became being a smart ass in general. And I remember saying to Tommy, "We got to watch this shit, kid. We got to tell Mitzi, get him, some spots, because if he can bring what he does off stage to on stage, which eventually is what you do."
And that was the most frustrating thing to me is everyone would constantly tell me like,
You got to write. You're not going to work.
You're way funnier off stage. You're not very funny on
yeah,
stage.
yeah,
and then you're like,
back then.
oh.
Back
That
then,
sucks,
yeah.
yeah.
And you get off, and then like there was even times where it's like I felt like I had a pretty good set,
Right.
and I'd get off just like, okay, that wasn't bad, and then I would have like two comics that I'm friends with, just like, dude, you gotta stop telling those jokes. So not you. You're
Yeah.
just a lot funnier off stage. And be like, fuck. I remember Freddie Soto, very funny comedian, and just like an awesome dude to a lot of the younger comics in my era, and he pulled me aside after he watched me on stage because I was trying to get management. And so his manager was had just started representing Renazizi and a couple other guys, I think. So he was going to come in, and Freddie was going to talk to him for me. And he watched me, and he was just like, bro, you can't do that stuff anymore. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, all that stuff's got to stop. I was just like, oh.
The whole act.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
terrible. It's like it
Hacky,
wasn't you the
hacky.
whole
So,
time.
so what was
Right.
it that brought that out in you? And then this is not kissing your ass anyway. I find you to be the most fascinating comic out here because every set's different. There's not a same. No, there's not a same set.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, if you're someone that watches a lot of comedy, you will quickly learn to hate stand-up comedy.
Yeah, it's
And,
true.
I mean, it's brutal. Like, there's guys that I loved, and I thought this is one of the funniest humans on earth. But I've seen his bit 10 times, and it's literally like, you are so not funny at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's comics who I've known for 10 years now who are still doing the exact same 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, unquestionably,
living,
just like,
I call that living on a credit.
And then there's other
Yeah.
guys that like every year retire stuff.
Yeah.
And or they'll do it on TV and say, okay, now that's
It's done.
and I'll never do it again. And they write new material. But there are guys that, what worked in 1975 is
They ride that wave.
right. You just change the name of the president and the relevant bimbo in society.
it was me all along.
It was me all along.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Blank was sticking to her sword.
I think part of what was inspiring me to I guess try just talking to people was, besides everyone telling me you're not funny on stage, was just wanting to do something that I thought was funny. Like going on stage and telling a joke that I had written about being from Kansas. I had this horrible bit about being from Kansas and something about getting high on Jesus, religious people, and
Imagine that.
yeah, it was like just as hacky as can be.
Just keywords.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, like people liked it. It always did well. When I get off stage, for some reason, it was always a black dude who would come up to me and be like, "Man, I like that getting high on Jesus joke." Yeah, thanks. And that's what I would close with. But after like doing it for a year, I literally felt like the biggest fraud that ever existed
You
in
hated the
history
joke
of
after that.
comedy. Like I'm just like, I can't believe I go on stage and say that with like
Right.
without just feeling like a fucking shell of a human being. And I'm sure that's probably has more to do with my psychotic issues than anything else. But since everyone else seems to
think
handle it just fine.
No, I'm the same way.
Well, and also the Comedy Store, another great thing that it affords us is there's 10,000 comics hanging out there,
Yeah.
you know, over all these years. And you can sit down and have a conversation with anybody from Dave Chappelle to, a couple of weeks ago, Bob Saget popped in.
Right.
And all our brand new door guys got
Loving
to
it.
sit for an hour and a half with him when the club was closed.
Yeah.
And he told old stories about when he was a door guy. That type of experience, you can't pay
learn
for
it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you get at the store. It really is a college.
Yeah.
And it takes time. And no matter what comics out there, you're not going to be good overnight.
Membership not required.
You're
Yeah.
not going to be funny out the gate. You've
But-
got to learn it.
In fact, I think it's important to note that most people are not going to get funny over a lifetime,
That's yeah.
let alone overnight or
Well,
in 2
Mitzi
years
says-
or 5 years, or despite what your agent tells you
Yeah.
or your parents or your buddies at work, you're not that funny.
Yeah.
Like
Mitzi
you're just
says
not.
It's
Like,
18
I'll admit
years.
I'm not funny where I want to be yet. I'm not funny. I
None
don't
of
think-
us are.
Yeah, and like I
Right.
have a long way to go, and a lot of people are like, "You're not funny." I'm like, I know I'm not funny. I'm getting there. I'm working.
yeah, seeing you're already in a different world than most people. If you can recognize, like, I'm not where I need to be. Most
Oh,
people are so
I hate
delusional.
my jokes right now. I hate them.
People are very delusional, and a lot of it
Yeah.
is for their own good. Because if not, then if people knew how terrible they were, then there'd be a lot more suicides.
Well, yeah, maybe I'm not suicide prone, so that's good.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people that watch what passes for comedy on TV,
Mm-hmm.
and then they come to our club, and the comics that do sort of safe
Yeah.
stuff like that are the ones they react to. And then, somebody like Brian Holtzman comes up, who we all love, and they're like, good Lord, it's the end of the world.
Yeah. The Antichrist is here.
Let's get out of here, Marge.
Yeah, I did a show in Chicago at a club called Riddles.
Riddles,
2 weeks
yes.
after they had Holtzman.
Oh,
And the club owner is a dude named Brant, great guy, really young. He's probably 30 now. Back then he was 25 and
Yeah.
running a comedy club. And he came out to LA, came to the Comedy Store, watched a show, and then just came back, hang out. He knew Jimmy Pitt and Toby, actually. And so he just met all these comics and essentially booked his club for the next year and a half with headliners for
That's
everyone
a
at the
sweet
club.
thing, yeah.
And so it was great. It's like he flew a bunch of us out, and but one of his favorite comics was Holtzman. And he saw Holtzman at the Comedy Store on a night when the room was full, and Holtzman crushed. And so he was just blown away by this guy.
and there's nothing like that.
When you see Holtzman crushing, it's
when
amazing.
Holtzman crushes, and
I
everybody in the
haven't
crowd,
got a chance to see it.
it's like
It's like Kinnison era.
it's the energy that
Yeah.
had to have been for Kinnison or Robin. No,
Yeah.
but,
But just it's amazing. Like it's awesome to be in the room watching when Holtzman hits.
Yeah.
Now Holtzman hits 1 in 20.
That's
maybe
not bad.
maybe more, but
At least he's hitting one.
yeah.
yeah.
When I say hit, I mean like the crowd gets it. He does pretty well most of the time, but every once in a while he just destroys, and then about 25% of the time the crowd just hates it.
Yeah.
They're just offended and horrified and scared that he's
Like
going to
David
start
Taylor.
shooting people. He's a lot more aggressively angry than David Taylor. So
Oh yeah.
I love when David Taylor goes on his rants.
David Taylor is awesome.
He is. He's hilarious.
The nice Holtzman.
Yeah, the friendlier,
The
approachable
friendlier, sweeter
Holtzman.
Holtzman.
Who'll still tear you apart. But Brandt flew Holtzman out to Chicago to headline because he'd seen him just crush, and the state of Illinois was not having Brian Holtzman. He said that they did the first night of shows. First show, crowd liked the opening guy, liked the middling guy, horrified by Holtzman. Second show, same deal, so horrified people were leaving 5 minutes into his act demanding their money back. And he was like, and then I didn't know what to do. And it's like, well, what happened? He was like, well, I didn't want to, make Holtzman angry, so I just let him do the shows the next night, and it was even more of a disaster. He said at that point Holtzman knew that they weren't going to like him, so he just went up there. Oh, well, might as well get this over with.
Basically,
Holes! How you like me now?
it's like you knew the grenade sitting
Tell
there, and
me
you're just like, oh, fuck
something
it. Who
good.
cares? Just pull the pen.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
He's like, listen, you are all going to hate me, so let's just do this.
But like David Taylor, Holtzman, they're both what we would call comics.
Yeah.
Where
Oh,
they're,
definitely.
And that had
I
a
know
lot
that about David.
That had a
Yeah.
lot to do with what I wanted to do with comedy too. Was like I wanted my friends and my peers to enjoy my comedy as opposed to being. I definitely wanted it to end. That when I got off stage, people were like, "You're not funny."
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted
So-
to be a switch to just shut off.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want the people I respect thinking I'm fucking awful.
Yeah.
And eventually
And you don't want the
realize you
people
don't
you respect
care.
also thinking you're a monkey. Like you're
Yeah.
just gonna get off stage and be like, oh, here we go.
And then it took another couple years, and then I could really give a shit what any of those people think. And had I just
Then the
stuck with
true
it,
you came out.
yeah, had I stuck with it, I probably would just have a career with a bunch of jokes at this point.
You were
But
like,
you wouldn't be as happy.
Yeah, probably not. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a lot angrier back then. My life's a lot better now than it was then, health wise, and just everything's better.
Fuck
so.
yeah, man.
engaged.
And now the Rick Ingraham
Engaged.
experience coming.
Rick Ingraham
experience. When is that?
Jimi
gonna,
Hendrix can just roll over in his grave because I've stolen the experience from him.
When is that going to be put online so the fans from the show come go watch? it?
I believe we're hoping for June, sometime in mid-June.
Okay. And I'll link
So-
it up on Nerd Rager, so we'll get you guys set up with that.
Cool, yeah.
Let's get to Jeff real quick, and then we're gonna close.
Yeah.
We're gonna close out the podcast. I want to get to know Jeff a little bit.
Absolutely.
Jeff Scott, the house pianist, and
Jeff Scott.
I want to get to you about how you got that job,
Jeff Scott.
how you got the job, and a little bit of your story into the Comedy Store.
How I got the job. It was purely by accident. A next door neighbor of mine saw an ad on community television it just said Hollywood nightclub seeks pianist and a phone number. And so he wrote it down and handed it to me. And, my background is in musical theater, and I was playing piano for a sketch group at that time. And but I don't play like the lounge type, background take request type stuff. So I didn't call the number or anything. And finally, after almost a month, I decided, all right, I'll just call. And they answered, World Fame Comedy Store. And they answered exactly like that with the hiccup and everything. I love it.
Door guy here.
Yeah. And they transferred me up to Mike Becker, who was the VP and the head pianist at that time. And he said, God, I wish you'd called a week ago. We've just hired, a couple people, but I'll keep you in mind. And then a year later, he called. I had to do temp work. It was the first time in my life I ever did temp work. And a week before Christmas, I came into this temp gig, and they're like, today's your last day. And I thought, well, okay, I can pay the bills through the end of the year. Came home, there was one message on my phone machine, and it was Becker calling.
The good old days, answering
Good old-
machines.
Yes,
God,
yes.
love it.
Beautiful era.
Cassette tape.
Yeah. Mini cassette or full cassette? How classy was your
full cassette, man.
baller?
Very
Okay.
classy.
Almost 8-trackable.
Yeah, all right.
And it was Becker calling me and saying, you'd applied for a piano job a year ago. You still interested? And I returned the call. And I think I started 2 days later, right before Christmas in '95.
So fate.
Christmas is a magical time at
totally
the Comedy
accident.
Store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is.
I really love it. It's one of those weird things where
Jewish Christmas.
they have that because the shores are Jewish. They have the Jewish Christmas for you. But there's so many people that are not going home to their families, essentially.
Yeah.
That just
Yeah,
have
'cause we're
no
all
one to
broke.
do anything with here. It's really cool. Like I remember the first year, I was like, well, this is going to be really lonely. And I went to the Comedy Store, and it was fun. It was like,
And
it was
it's
just a bunch of other lonely
Absolutely.
people.
Well, and just for people that haven't heard this, everybody at the store knows it, and who knows who first said it. But much like the in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, there's the Island of Misfit Toys, all the broken toys. Nobody wants a Charlie in a box. That's what people have always referred to the store. It's the
Yeah.
Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah,
In
Steve
the-
Simone told me
in
that.
the Isle of Los Angeles with beautiful, tanned, healthy people. We're all the sort of freaks, but we get together
And we love each other, yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
our own little freaky family.
We don't feel freaky there because it means
no,
it's normal.
we feel
We're all
special,
normal there, yeah.
and everybody's very accepting.
The Comedy Store was the first place on earth that I didn't feel weird.
That's me too.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
the same way.
Like it was like
My first,
I'm a normal person there compared to what's going
yeah,
on.
that's how I feel too.
my
yeah.
first week there, at the end of the week, Holtzman was on a late night spot, and after a week, I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my God, I have never worked in a more fucked up environment in my life."
Yeah.
And other than prior to that time before that, I had always been like acting gig to gig to gig. I'd never worked anywhere longer than like a theme park for 2 years or something.
Right.
And now you've
And-
been working there so long that you have the comedians know songs with you.
I'm old. Yeah, but I remember, that after a week, I'm watching Holtzman and he's starting, and I'm thinking, I can't live through this again. It's I've only seen this guy twice, and I've never been in a more fucked up environment. And that was one of those nights when Holtzman totally connected with the audience.
Right.
And he completely won me over. And at the end of his set, it went from never been in a more fucked up environment to, and I've never felt more at home in all my years in L.A. than
Yeah.
I have here.
You're like, oh, this is
And-
my fucked up environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
And
belong here. What?
one of the guys said to me, "You're gonna be an old guy at 40, still sitting in the corner playing piano." Not bad. I'm 51. I'm still doing
and
it.
it's a great thing. It's
It's
fun.
a great gig.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that guy, he's over at a
Dead.
Denny's somewhere in San Antonio.
If
How
that,
would you like your eggs over my hammy, ma'am?
one of the coolest things I've seen
I
you do,
can't do
Jeff.
high voice like I used to do. What? I was trying to do your like screechy guy voice.
Excuse me.
There it is. Thank you. Son of a bitch. Lost it.
Eggs over Miami.
Yeah, that's nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
One of the coolest things I've seen you do, Jeff, and because of your time spent at the Comedy Store and how many comics know you now, is the fact that you like Dave Chappelle came up, Jeff Garland,
Yep.
who else? Bill Burr.
Well,
they
Bill sings a little.
Okay,
To whatever I
But
play him on.
But they and Brody Stevens.
Brody, sure.
Brody Stevens.
Yeah,
yes.
we do musical little bits that they're. I mean, it's not everybody's act, but there's a lot of guys where
He's got theme
I've-
music for me
I've sort of thought, yeah, Rick,
that he picked out.
I've thought of something like most recently. A bit of music that I added into somebody's set was Sandy Danto's been doing SNL. And
Oh,
he
yeah,
does, he does the announcer from SNL. And I went up to him one night and I said, "What if I downloaded the theme music and we play it underneath or something?" But for copyright reasons, we never did.
No, never did that.
Never did that. Sorry, NBC. And, so now he starts doing the impression, and all of a sudden the theme music just sort of slides in. And nobody should ever look over and be aware of what my job is. But I get to be more involved with people's acts than I ever thought I would be. I get to do more performing than had I tried to be some actor on a TV show, which would have failed miserably.
Mark Maron was trying to tease me one day about. He's like, yeah, at least I don't have theme music. And he's like, who is that? He was asking me, who is that? What music are you playing? I said,
is that?
I don't know. He said, you don't know what the music is? I said, no.
Do it till you're satisfied.
Yeah, that's what I knew. I knew the name of the song. I didn't know who it was by. And he's like, how do you not know who it's by? I'm like, because Jeff picked it.
It's his special thing.
Yeah, no, he knows what he's doing. He's like, you don't take that on the road? I'm like,
That's his job.
one, I don't go on the road, but if
Yeah.
I did, I'm not going to
Yeah.
take my theme song.
But that's exactly what I was saying earlier. It's like it's his job as a musician.
He knows what he's
to
doing.
figure
He's
out-
great,
figure
yeah.
that
Well,
out.
and
It's
some
our
of the
job as
guys-
comics to be funny.
It's perfect for my energy when I
Guys
go up
have
there,
tried
so.
to do the musical bits. Like I've recorded music that I do for Jeff Garland, and he's like, "Nah, I don't want to do it without you. It doesn't work." Or like the little thing I do with Francisco Ramos. his intro music, which has become a long bit. Francisco, wrap it up.
Jesus.
Honesty.
This podcast is
The honesty podcast with Jeff Scott.
he's not on this podcast, so he won't be listening to it.
Good point. Good point.
No comic will listen to this podcast because they're not on it.
Yeah, but he did. He took the recording of the piece of music I used and he tried it in another club, and he said it was just like flat. And again, I don't expect anybody to acknowledge me in the corner sitting there, but there is that live element that it's happening.
Yeah.
One of the things Paulie does that I like, he's so used to always have. Well, there's always been a pianist at this club. It's the only club in LA that still has a pianist regularly. And he'll look over to me like a sidekick and talk to me. And when the audience is, not laughing, he can make a joke at my expense and get them on his side.
It's a Johnny Carson accepted form of.
And then
talk.
when they see us, or like when Jeff Garland and I are talking back and forth, I think a lot of audience members realize, oh, this isn't rehearsed. This isn't like TV planned. We're seeing real live shit.
Yeah, and you guys are friends now because of the time spent. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see that.
We have a house in San Diego together, Jeff and I.
Yeah, cuddle on the weekends.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut this
He
short.
doesn't shave his pubes.
I want to get you guys. I want to have you guys here again. We'll do another Comedy Store Nerd Rager later on in the year. But this was fun. I didn't even get to everything today. But
Boners next time.
Boners and Boner Nerd Rager next.
So Eric, that would be what a Comedy Store video game would be like.
Yes.
There's the callback. It's over. He did it.
Enjoy it.
Thank you very much to Stand Up Talk Studios. You can go to @standuptalk.com.
Thanks, Ari.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you guys.
You're gonna
for
get
being
that
here.
puss with
You
that
can
haircut,
Such
bro.
a good
Thank you.
place.
You can find Jeff Scott on Facebook. He runs.
Jeff Scott.
You want to tell him about the pages you run and whatnot?
Well, besides my own regular idiot stuff, I run a Facebook page called Ciro's Nightclub on Sunset Strip.
It's awesome.
Since that's what the Comedy Store is. It's the only nightclub that's still a nightclub. Well, one of the few on the Strip.
Yeah.
So,
And also,
Golden
your
Era.
Haunted Midnights. Drop a bomb
Haunted
there.
Midnights, yeah. LA, the store is one of the most haunted buildings in Southern California. So every year, right around Halloween, we do a whole Halloween ghost tour show and give tour of all the places where mob people killed people back in the day. And
Well, that's another broadcast, isn't it?
There you go. That's for the next one.
Let's
And
wrap it up.
we got Rick Ingraham. You can find him at Rick Ingraham on Twitter and what
And
other.
Facebook, and I got a Rick Ingraham Experience thing coming out this summer, and I've got a podcast as well with Matt Nost called Embrace the Hate. That
that's
the people
awesome.
should
Yes.
check
Embrace
out.
the hate.
Definitely, yeah.
Just us talking shit on everything.
I did
so.
not know you had a podcast with Matt Nose. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, we're like 25 deep now.
that's
We
how
just
he
started
knows
doing
how to
guests.
do
So.
this.
Awesome.
Yeah, so check that out. It's entertaining. We're just a bunch of assholes.
Well, now I'm going to go check it out.
Yeah.
So that's great. All right. And and you can find me at Eric Oligny on Twitter and all that other crap. Thanks, guys. Nerd Rage.